tomorrow. Stronger today than ever before, and even stronger tomorrow. When great new ideas emerge, Tezos will be ready. And so will you. Tezos, designed to evolve, built to empower.
But here comes the battle for the checker flag. I believe it is. Ryan Niff getting the win. But here comes the battle for the checker flag. I believe it is. Ryan Niff getting the win.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Paid too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just
It's really just about being smooth to get a quick lap. That's the track that's usually gets pretty hard packed. A little rutted, but really hard packed, and then it's in the shadows too, so it's kind of hard to see. So you just have to really be easy on the throttle, and it's got a lot of switchbacks after the finish there, so you have to really set yourself up good outside in. Just be real easy on the gas for me anyway. That's what I got to do is so as not to break traction or whatever, because it is pretty hard packed there.
Beautiful place to spend a summer weekend in the Pacific Northwest. It's round 8 of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, sanctioned by AMA Pro Racing, the motorsport.com, Washougal National, presented by Peterson Cat. Welcome to Fast Lap qualifying here live on MAV TV. Jason Wygant joined by the 9-time AMA National Champ and a Washington native. Qualifying here live on MAV TV. Jason Wygant joined by the 9-time AMA National Champ and a Washington native, Ryan Villapoto. Got to be pumped at what you've seen so far this year leading to Washougal.
The racing's been phenomenal. From ex-racer, from your guys' fans' perspective, it's couldn't ask for anything better. The racing's been really close, and first, second motos, like we've had some really good battles. Yeah, it's come down to the wire, including our last second moto last week in Minnesota. A real championship battle between Eli Tomac and Chase Sexton. Do you think today things can change? Because Sexton's become the chaser now. Yep, and I think today at Washougal, as we all know, the shadows can get bad. The track can get a little bit slippery. Second motos, shadows really play a part. So come down to a start, and I think Chase is right there. Eli's on a roll right now, 7 moto wins. So let's see if Chase can knock him down. And as you see, only 5 points now. The difference between Tomac and Sexton, the difference is the order has switched, with Tomac now on top. In the 250 class, it has been all about Jet Lawrence. He's won all but one race, and the only race he lost it because his bike broke. But he said this track is tricky for him, so the door could be open. Yes, the track is tricky. It's like I mentioned before, with the shadows coming into play, they do have to lay some water down for those second motos, so it becomes really technical. All right, that's the challenge that Jet has in front of him. A lot of 250 riders trying to take that win streak away, including Justin Cooper. Let's send it down to Jason Thomas with the number 32.
Justin Cooper, a little bit of a bounce-back ride, second moto last week. Last year at this race, you looked like you were on your way to extending the points lead. You have a little bit of a crash in the second moto, and that seemed to kind of derail the rest of the season. What are your thoughts coming into kind of the site of that last year?
Yeah, I just got to put that behind me. Obviously, we had a good second moto last week. We're a little bit closer to the front group, so that was fun to battle with them. And yeah, we're feeling really good so far. I think if we get up front, we're going to be pretty hard to beat today. So I'm looking forward to doing the same thing in this practice, and hopefully get that first gate pick, get a good start, and hopefully.
Good luck today.
Thanks.
And Justin Cooper is back to his normal podium pace, but he wants to be a race winner and end that streak where the Lawrence brothers have been rolling top 2 in this series. 250 qualifying coming your way from Washougal here on MAV TV.
The 50th anniversary season of Pro Motocross is brought to you by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive. General Tire. For whatever you do, General Tire delivers. And by Honda, celebrating 50 years of off-road dominance.
So before we get qualifying underway, let's give you a tour of this Washougal facility with the MX Versus ATV Legends track map. Go ahead, Ron. Yeah, iconic track here. We have this big horsepower hill, the awesome downhill. Another iconic part of the track is the whoop section here. So pay attention to the shadows, guys. It's going to be a gnarly day today, and luckily these guys have some overcast this morning. Talk about the start, those first couple corners going up horsepower hill. Yeah, got to start next to the box there a little bit. You got a big left-hand sweeper dropping into that right-hander, and it bottlenecks there. And that makes a big difference. So see some of the track facts. Earlier, Jason Thomas had a chance to catch up with Hunter Lawrence.
Hunter Lawrence, it's been a rough couple of weeks. I think that's fair. Can you walk us through your thought process as you come in here? The points have gotten away a little bit, but how do you approach the last 5 rounds here, try to cut back into that 27-point deficit?
You just got to win, get points and win. So we're just taking it race by race. We're feeling better and stuff, so just got to go out, get some good starts, and beat Jet, obviously.
What are your thoughts about this racetrack in particular? You know, I've raced here myself, and it's tricky, right? It starts out really nice in the morning and then just kind of goes away the rest of the day. Do you think that really works for your style, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, it's tricky because it's so hard pack, and it looks like there's a lot of grit, but it's like unbelievable how slippery it is. So you definitely got to be smooth. Start's important, and start practice is going to be tricky because it's so rock hard here where we're doing it. So like, you just spin like without even putting any gas on. So it's a little different to what it's like behind the gate. But yeah, hopefully it plays into my favor.
All right, Hunter Lawrence feeling pretty confident trying to cut back into that points lead.
We'll see if he can do that. If you want to figure out this soil, maybe some local knowledge would help. All year we're chronicling the great champions of the past of this series, including Rick the Lumberjack Burgett, who's the first rider to put motocross in the minds of race fans here in the Pacific Northwest. Rick Burgett looked more likely to be a Northern Woods lumberman than a top-level motocross racer. Coming out of an area of the country where year-round riding is impossible, Burgett scraped and clawed for every opportunity. And then he earned his factory ride with Yamaha in 1976 by telling them he would ride for free. Just give him a works bike and let him go. 2 years later, his faith in himself would pay off, as he would become a key cog in one of the most dominant teams in AMA motocross history, with Yamaha sweeping all three classes. Alongside teammates Bob Hanna on the 250 and Brock Glover on the 125, Burgett earned a series-leading 6 overall wins and a 500 national championship over Rex State. Combined, the Lumberjack, the Hurricane, and the Golden Boy dominated a season like no factory team before or since. Rick Burgett retired from motocross in 1983. Practice not quite underway yet. This is still start practice, brought to you by Beta Motorcycles. So RV, you could talk a little bit about what Hunter was talking about. They don't practice starts on the gate, so the dirt's a little different?
Yeah, the dirt's a little bit different for sure. And obviously, where you can see where Justin's starting right now, if you're on the gate, you kind of actually come up over a little rise. So they're starting on a little bit of an uphill right now, as you guys can see right now, and it is slippery in front of the gate. It doesn't have as much water as the gate does back there. So definitely tricky to figure out, you know, how much throttle to give it, how aggressive to be with the clutch, and get a good launch out of there.
How different is the dirt here on the start? You see they've thrown some sawdust down compared to the dirt on the rest of the track.
Well, I mean, this dirt that would be on the start, if the track ran through here, it would end up being the exact same. You'd get down to that hard base, but just since they're never really on it, it looks pristine.
Oh, I see. So it's not the way it's prepped. It's just it doesn't get traffic on it.
It doesn't get the traffic on it. It doesn't get the lines built into it. So, but like Hunter said, it is really slippery up there in front of the gate. So that's why the mechanics are trying to get the most traction, lay down, pack the dirt, get dirt, build up everything that they can to get a good practice start.
I remember your old mechanic, Mike Williams. It was like a work of art.
Yeah, you have to. These mechanics are phenomenal at what they do, building gates, or a lot of some riders build their own. I never did. I always left that to the mechanic.
Okay.
Keep myself fresh.
Yeah. You got other things to think about.
Yeah.
So
we're not building a gate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're out in the sight lap. They got plenty of time while you're out there riding. We get ready for 250 qualifying to begin. So it has been the Lawrence Brothers show, but some other riders trying to peek in there. Joe Shimoda, been really strong as of late.
Yep, been riding really well. He's just locked in his starting device right now, and this track's really going to come down to, like, I know everybody that
here we go. Yeah.
Announces it says, oh, it comes down to the starts, and it does. It really comes down to the starts, especially on a one-line track, in which Washougal can become one line. Especially as the main line gets a little blown out, or there's just really not a lot of places to pass here. So set up your passes are important.
I'm really curious. See the metal blocks there?
Yep, starting blocks.
So Joe brought them out for the first time in the second moto last week, and he finally, one of the first times this year, got a decent start. Oh. So if he keeps that going, maybe this is something he can replicate.
Yeah, no, for sure. And a guy like Joe, the way he rides, he's pretty has a lot of finesse. He doesn't do anything really erratic on the bike or on the track. So this track may suit him very well.
Yeah. So they asked, "Did you even practice with blocks?" And he said, "No, my starts are bad." Mitch Payton just said, "Do something. Do something different.
Do something different."
And it
Try
worked.
something different. Yes. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result.
And the starts have really been a problem this year. And Joe's been pretty much solid in every other aspect of the game. So if he can continue to start up front, he has shown the speed to be able to challenge the Lawrence brothers and did get that overall win at Redbud. It's the only non-Jet Lawrence win this year. And by the way, he's sporting Michigan Mafia on the butt patch on the back of the pants because he's been hanging out at Nick Way's place.
That's right. Yep. Nick is his trainer. Michigan Mafia, man.
Yep. I know you, Nick, pretty tight back in the day.
Yeah, I got to spend a lot of time there in Michigan riding at Nick's track that he has at his hometown, and a lot of good memories there. And then bounced back and forth from California to Florida to Michigan. So it's great. So
Nick said the real challenge is trying to make Joe uncomfortable, make him do things he doesn't want to do.
Exactly. I think that's one thing with Joe. He's a creature of habit, doesn't push the limits too hard, definitely stays inside of his box, but he's got potential, so he's got to learn to live outside that box a little bit and get those moto wins and hopefully overalls.
Justin Cooper already has the time to beat from the first qualifying session. That is no surprise. He's the master of time qualifying. He was fastest overall last week also, and somewhere around a 43-44% for his career fast qualifying mark. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's really good at those fast laps, which is really good for obviously gate pick purposes. They're laying a little bit of water down on the track right now, so we'll see if that fast lap comes early in this practice or a little bit later, just because the clay, it definitely makes the track slippery. So the track might come in a little bit later into this practice.
I asked Jeremy Martin this. We had him in the booth last week. I asked him, how often do you really feel your fast lap is your best lap? How often do you really get it right? You don't get many shots at it, first of all.
No, you don't. And it's like you got a couple clean. Yeah, Cooper has clean air right now, but pretty soon they're going to get into lappers. And then there's some other things. You got to worry about those guys. Who's going to slow you up? A line blowing out because you're based on one lap. It's one fast lap. So it's definitely hard. I was never very good at it.
Oh, straight up.
No,
it was not your thing.
No, it wasn't my thing.
Supercross or outdoors, which is tougher to nail that lap? Is there a difference?
I think back to what I brought in lappers and people on the track, Supercross definitely a little tougher because it's a confined area. There's not as many places to pass on a track, and there's normally a main line where sometimes you can, if somebody's in the main line here at Washougal or any other national, there's potentially another line where you can get around that guy and not hinder that lap time so bad.
Not ruin the whole thing. Watch Cooper. You could tell he's throwing down right now.
Yeah, he's riding really well. He's riding really well. The track's coming into, it's starting to come in. I think, like I said, it's really gonna. I think the next 5 minutes is when you're gonna see some of these fast laps click off.
Now they changed something back here, right?
Yeah, so you got that big floater tabletop that you come along, and there was always a little chicane when we raced, but now there's actually a real right-hander and a left-hander. I'd like to see how that plays into motos and see if it's really just going to be that much of a bottleneck one line, or if there's going to be something creative that somebody comes up with where sometimes you can, if somebody's in the main line here at Washougal or any other national, there's potentially another line where motos, and see if it's really just going to be that much of a bottleneck one line, or if there's going to So really finding that limit of how hard you can push the motorcycle and how hard you can push the tires is the key thing to get that fast lap.
It is tires, obviously. That's the ultimate point of traction. But the riders talk a lot about how you can change the suspension to try to gain more traction. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's definitely some things you can do with the motorcycle, maybe speed the rebound up just a little bit so the tire can stay on the ground to keep that traction. But, Dunlop does a great job on providing these guys with, some options. They're running, obviously, factory tires. So, there's really, it comes down to, it's probably a click to the left, 2 to the right, 3 to,
Not big.
It's nothing like we're going to be changing shocks or forks or things like that. Yes, they can fine-tune their motorcycle. But what they've shown up today is what they're going to ride.
Yeah, I asked Carlos Rivera, that's Ryan Dungeon's mechanic, and he's like, we've come here for 40-some years. We know what changes to make, and it's not that big. But in general, he's saying a little bit softer is the direction you want to go. That does help traction?
Yes, and you can go a little bit softer, which will help a little traction. And the one thing, this track promotes to go a little bit softer just because it doesn't really get these massive braking bumps where you need the hold up with the forks and the shock. So you can you can go a little bit softer, which will improve the traction.
Okay, we'll see if they got it right here, the Honda HRC folks. It's like Jet Lawrence. Will he put in a heater lap here? Is it the thing with Jet's style? It's almost disguised a little bit. We always talk about he doesn't look like he's on the ragged edge.
Yeah, no, he just rides the bike really, really well in the right RPM, the right gear. The one thing I've noticed when the track does get rough, Jet gets off the brakes in the big bumps, so then the suspension can track through them. And they have a little bit of that European style where they stand up a lot, all the way midway through the turn, sometimes all the way through the turn. So really, really awesome riding style to watch.
Yeah, we say it every week. Even though he's a young teenager and he's the series champ and he's very fast, it's not out of control recklessness like you would think from someone this young.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm watching him right now, and it doesn't look like he's just going for it, but we can tell he's on a fast lap. But his roll speed everywhere is really high. Not using a lot of brakes, not upsetting the motorcycle. So yeah, he's riding phenomenal right now.
Yeah, roll speed. Is that the midway through the corner, or just you mean the not on gas on the brakes part?
Yeah, like so coming into the turn, we always have a braking point, and it's relatively similar for all of us. But if you just come into the turn wide open and then grab the brakes really hard, it upsets the bike. The forks dive, and then if you get caught up in those big braking bumps, it'll just upset the motorcycle. So if you can anticipate, okay, here's these big braking bumps coming in, and then you let off the brakes a little bit, it frees the motorcycle up to then work underneath of you, and then you can get into your rut real nice.
But that means you're not getting on the brakes.
You're not getting on the brakes, which increases your roll speed also.
Yes, you still got to make the corner, though. I love these floater jumps here. The back one going away, then there'll be one coming back toward the fans. Here we go.
Looks like Jet's riding a lot of outsides right now, keeping that speed up. Here's that new section. Really had that nailed in there. Just carrying lots of speed everywhere.
And there's the standing in the corner you were talking about. Finally touches down a little bit, and then we reconnect with the track has always gone here through the whoops.
It looks like they're going outside into the whoops, triple in, triple, and then blitz out. Eventually there's going to be that inside's going to form. And I'm hoping a really good one it forms on the inside, so we have some passing potential in that right-hander before the whoops.
Yeah, and that would lead them right to the finish. So Lawrence, Jet has gone to the top of the charts in this session. See Justin Cooper's 2:11 from the first is still fastest overall. That's going to be a heck of a mark to try to get.
You know, I think with Jet right now, 2:14, Cooper 2:14.7. Yeah, he's got that 2:11 in practice one. But really, if you're anywhere inside the top 5 for a gate pick is just fine. There's no sense in, pushing that just to get that fast lap award or, bragging rights. It's just getting inside the top 5 for a good gate pick.
It's like Nate Thrasher in the mechanics area. Let's send it down to Jason Thomas.
So you guys were talking about Justin Cooper and that 2:11 in the first practice. Now, I touched on this last week, but Justin Cooper is on his way to being 25 out of 56 for qualifying fastest. That is a number that, it was about 44% last week. I don't think people fully appreciate how incredible that is. And I was speaking to Lucas Myrtle, who's the agent for both Joe Shimoda, Hunter Lawrence, and Jet Lawrence, and they've almost come to expect Justin Cooper to be at the front. They're not even surprised by it anymore. They don't even really think it matters for the racing. That's how good he is. Everyone's just expecting it at this point.
I think, I expect it. I kind of expect it. He rides well, and there's some guys that just can get that fast lap in, and some guys are good for the long haul, the motos, put it in consistent 5 or 6 laps if you're really feeling out the motorcycle. Like I said, I was never really good at one-off fast laps.
Was it just the one lap thing, or is it literally like the time of day? Did it take you more time to learn the track or get up to speed or anything like that?
Honestly, I think there's just, for me, I was always a racer. And I could go fast in practice, not the fastest, but I could go fast enough to get me up on the board, get me a good gate pick. But it really came down to when the gate dropped, I could always click it up just another gear and, find another second or so.
And that's what the Lawrence brothers trying to do right now. Hunter is 96. He has gone to the top of the charts in this session. First rider in the 2:13s. Still off of what Cooper threw down earlier today. So we'll see if this holds, if the track is getting slower. As the day goes on, to the top of Horsepower Hill goes Hunter. Looks like he wants more.
Yeah, he's another one riding really well. A little bit different line than Jet and Cooper there. He's going up the inside at the top of Horsepower Hill. And those guys are going really wide there. There needs to be an inside line eventually that builds up. I think first motos will see that. Track will be tightened up a little bit, and multiple lines will show so that we have some good passing opportunities.
Yeah, there's always pass attempts through these corners here. Oh, he missed everything.
Yeah, blew that turn. Just ended up coming into the S-turn from the bottom of the downhill, went to the middle line in the first left-hander, and then it put him into an area where no man's land where there was no rut, and then got the rear tire caught up on that inside one.
All right, so that's going to probably end Hunter. Looked like he was really trying to put in a hard lap. We'll just take you through one little mistake, and it all unfolds.
Yeah, it looks like he went outside and then was deciding where to go with the lapper, missed that inside rut, then tried to go to the middle, lost the rear, and then lost the rear again in that little bit of a high side there.
Hunter had a good lap going until then. Again, he's still the fastest rider in this session, and we'll see if he ramps it back up as he heads toward the finish area. Cooper's third quickest. Go ahead.
Yeah, probably just looking for, you know, right now making sure that there's nobody in front of him, getting ready for another fast lap. You know, it's good. It's really good. They just try to open up the cobwebs a little bit with the lungs, the muscles, you know, getting a couple really fast burning laps, and, you know, then take it easy, let the heart rate come down. It's just something that we all do. You know, you're not out there riding for, you know, the 8 minutes or, you know, the whole practice wide open. You're feeling out the motorcycle. You're making sure you don't need to make any little changes. You're seeing how the track's developing, you know, to hopefully get that first moto.
Let's go to Shimoda here. He just came across and went to second quickest, 2:14.2, a couple hundredths quicker than Jet. So Shimoda showing speed again. And that was a big change. At Redbud, it was the first time he'd ever been fast qualifier, and he went on to win the overall.
And this is really good for Joe, I think, you know, being in this position, not really in it for the championship, but it seems like he's found another gear.
Yeah.
You know, got his first overall, got fast lap. You know, now he's coming in for putting in another burner right now, it looks like. I just think confidence is up. You know, things are working with him. The bike's working well. They're training, Nick and him. They've been putting in a lot of work. So, you know, the way it's looking right now with these lap times, if we can get all three of those guys out of the gate together, we're going to have an awesome race on our hands.
Well, Joe's got the starting blocks now, so maybe it'll happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it will. We just saw Seth Hammaker move into fourth. Hammaker's first visit to this track. Says he learned it by watching a lot of GoPro videos. Then he said he did one. You have to roll the first lap of practice. It's required. Roll the jumps. Then he did one slow lap. And then he did one fast lap, and he was fourth in the first session. And I'm like, so the very third lap you'd ever ridden at this track, you were fourth fastest. That blows my mind. That, I'll give you credit, you guys can do that.
Yeah, you know, we've seen so many tracks and so many different jumps and different conditions. Once you learn the track and you know where it's at, you know, these guys can let it eat right away.
It's crazy.
You know, learning a track for us doesn't take much at all. It's sometimes if there's a big combination, a big triple or something that you got to pay attention to, that's one thing. But right now, Washougal, we don't have a lot of big jumps, so learning the track's fairly easy for everybody out there.
Yeah. Hammaker is pretty quick right now. He is sixth quickest. Oh, we got to return. This team has been just beset by injuries. The Bar-X Chaparral Suzuki team. We got Preston Kilroy back in action. We finally have Dylan Schwartz now back today. I think his injury might have dated all the way back to Supercross. He was really quick at the end of the year last year, was hovering around top fives. So just trying to rebuild. This team has had some bad luck this year after showing some signs with the RM Army a year ago. Let's see what Schwartz can do today. Imagine he's ridden Washougal a couple of times as a California native.
Yeah, it's not too far, about 19 hours.
But in motocross terms, it's so dumb. I know that sounds ridiculous, but in motocross terms, it's like, you're on the West Coast. You know Washougal, especially when you throw in the Loretta's qualifiers.
Yep. Yeah, no, a lot of guys don't come up north this way. Most of us, Washington, Oregon, we head south.
Oh, okay.
You know,
they don't come this
there's about
way.
9 months of winter here, so.
Is that the way it feels?
That's the way it feels. Actually, the way it is.
9 months.
So riding is a bit hard.
Okay, so you go down there. Yeah, I mean, I always say it's beautiful to come up here, and it's like, yeah, you always come here in July. Come visit us in January.
Exactly, yes.
There is Jet. Checkered flag is out. Time has expired. Oh, and the lap right there, he becomes fastest in this session, and to me, it looked like he wasn't even pushing in the whoops.
And then Cooper just jumped up to 2:13.1.
Yep. So, again, that's not going to change Cooper being fastest overall. But Jet ends up being the fastest rider in this session. I mean, to me, it looked like he wasn't going as fast as he could in those whoops.
Yeah, made a little mistake actually on the triple, and then when he went to quad out, he ended up just going a little deep, caught the front wheel on that one, and it popped him up a little bit. So maybe a tenth or so right there. So
and still good enough to be fastest in this session. Now the track builders told me the whoops are a little bit more spaced out this year, so they expect jumping maybe more than
blitzing them. Okay, yeah. It's always a little bit different every year we've come up. We sometimes they'll build them bigger, a little closer, a little steeper, and you can jump them. Eventually, I think by motos, especially by Moto 2s, I'm thinking we're going to see blitzing.
Okay. I would like to see them mix it up. So it looks like it's over, and it's going to be Justin Cooper as fastest overall. There's Max Miller, one of the local natives, lives about 2 hours from here. Talking to him and his dad this morning. They're pumped to get back. So Dad said pumped to be back on the mountain.
Yeah, no, they don't live too far from here. And Max actually has a track 2 hours south of here that's all clay. So if, he's used to this dirt, he's used to this, ruddy or harder conditions. So be interesting to see what he can do here at his home track.
He ends up, looks like 19th quickest by the way for Miller. Here comes Schwartz through, looking for his time. He is 16th. And there's Cooper looking to maybe close back up on 50% for the career for fast qualifying times, which is, again, since he turned pro. So you'd think it takes a few races or maybe a season to become fast qualifier, but he was doing it right off the rip. And not out of it as far as battling for race wins and podiums here in the 250 class. We'll be talking to Justin Cooper about that fast lap time in just a moment when we return to Fast Lap qualifying on MAV TV.
The 50th anniversary season of Pro Motocross is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance. Motosport.com. Make your next ride your best ride. And by Monster Energy. Unleash the beast.
Back to the Pacific Northwest and the Motosport.com Washougal National Lucas Oil Pro Motocross on MAV TV. Let's send it down to Jason Thomas.
Justin Cooper, your fastest qualifier today. Now, we're starting to take this for granted a little bit, but it has to feel good to put that Yamaha to the first gate position each week.
Yeah, for sure it's a confidence booster, but we really got to do it in the moto. So just builds a little bit more pressure. We feel really good on the bike today, and yeah, I think that it's going to be really good track conditions. The weather's pretty cool, and it's a little bit of overcast. So we're looking in for some good track conditions and hopefully get out front and, yeah, run away with it would be nice. The track's going to be really high speed today, and it's going to be high intensity for sure. So looking forward to getting 2 good starts and battling for this win.
Well, Justin Cooper, your fastest qualifier, looking for one of those patented hole shots in Moto 1.
But even he knows it's only qualifying. He needs to do it in the motos. That's the first thing he said.
Yeah, for sure. But it definitely helped, like he said, confidence booster to get that fast lap. It's nice to go back to the truck. Team's happy. You know, obviously the bike's working well for him. They might make a couple little changes, you know, before first moto. But right now everything's looking really well for him.
They will be racing at 4 o'clock Eastern and 1 o'clock here local time Pacific. That will be on MAV TV and coverage with MAV TV on Flow Racing if you want to do it. Streaming 4 straight hours of live coverage going through 8 o'clock Eastern. And don't forget Inside Pro Motocross, our show at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. Jason Wygant and the 9-time champ, Ryan Villapoto here at Washougal. So let's talk 450 class and this brewing battle. I feel like at Southwick, Chase Sexton knew it was advantage Eli Tomac. It was a lot closer last week. Sexton won this race last year. Is this maybe trending a little bit better for him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the position Chase is in right now is a great position. He's just got a couple little pieces of the puzzle to put together. But he's got to stop Eli. Eli's on a roll right now, 7 moto wins. He's, you know, every moto win that he gets is just a points ahead. So it's going to be hard to stop that train once it leaves the station.
Yeah, and for winning 7 motos in a row, it's crazy. The points lead is only 5. And you know what? You said the little pieces of the puzzle. Tomac's won this title 3 times. He has those pieces. He has the experience.
He has the experience. He's, you know, Chase is 22 years old, I think. Yep. Eli 29. So there's, you know, there's some maturity there, maybe some strength, you know. But I think Chase is right there, man. We're going to see it soon.
Yeah. So it's been great to watch these two battle it out. It's almost like a battle of generations. But look at this stat. Credit to Kellen Brower at RacerX for coming up with this idea to study how often you have 7 consecutive 1-2 moto finishes between 2 riders. It's only happened 3 times. James Stewart and Michael Lessie in 2008. Right behind him, and the points still being this close. It's a pretty unique situation because Carmichael and Stewart had built a big points lead when they were doing it previously. Okay, so that'll be something to watch to see if it can be 8 straight, potentially in the first 450 moto today, as we celebrate all the great history of motocross, including the great riders that have come from this area, including Chuck Sun, who's only focused on one thing, which is winning, and his white-hot intensity burned for 8 years, leading him to wins in some of the biggest and most important races in early history of motocross. Chuck Sun was a fierce and determined rider who was a constant fixture in the title battles of the late 1970s and early 80s. Riders from the Northwest had become a force to be reckoned with, especially in the 500 class, as Sun began sharpen their skills racing each other at home and then unleash that speed on the world. Forget took the 1978 500 crown, and 2 years later, Sun captured a 500 national championship of his own. The 1980 season saw Chuck guide his Honda to 5 overall wins. He earned the nickname the Rising Sun, thanks to his Asian American heritage, becoming the first rider with a minority background to win a national title. He made history, becoming the first group of Americans to win the famed competition. And that began a streak of 13 consecutive victories for the red, white, and blue. And the following season, Sun would capture his most significant personal victory with the win of the 500 World Grand Prix at Carlsbad. Chuck Sun pushed himself from an unknown rider from Oregon to the highest levels of the sport. You'll still see him watching the races at Washougal today, at his home track, the area where he sharpened his craft. All right, Chuck Sun, iconic part of the history of this track here at Washougal, as are the tricky conditions that set it out.
To get that drive on the racetrack. Well, this weekend he's not going to be able to use that. This track is far too hard to use that scoop tire. So it's going to be interesting to see if Tomac can keep those good starts up as he has to go back to a little bit more of a traditional tire.
Thanks, JT. There you see how the starting mechanism works in the doghouse, as we call it in motocross, as we are underway with the final 450 qualifying of this afternoon. And riders not uncorking it quite yet, seeing how the track has developed. And that downhill there, that's kind of, I always feel like When you're in the back, the fans, there's not really fans back there, right? And you come back into the zone.
Depends on how much you want to trek up the hill.
Okay, it can be
so
done.
You can get back there.
Okay.
Yeah, which is actually a pretty cool section to watch once you come over Horsepower Hill. You make that left-hander. There's a couple rollers there, and then they just scrub off that first downhill.
Oh, yeah.
All the way to the bottom, and we'll see like an inside rut forming there, and it'll be really good to watch them. It's fun. That section is really fun.
So for the first time here in motocross this season, the red number plate backgrounds are on the back of the number 3 of Eli Tomac, who finally wrestled the points lead away from Chase Sexton, who had the lead since round 1. We see Jason Anderson. Anderson went down, we hear, in the first qualifying session. Oh, we actually have it here. Nothing terrible here physically, but let's see what happened to the 21.
Just came into that left-hander, and that berm just started to blow out a little bit. He was probably trying to come up the inside, hit the beginning of the berm, and then come up the inside, and there was just nothing for his tires to bite to. It is really slippery. Everybody's been talking about it. The track is technical. It is a very technical track.
Send it back down to JT.
So that lap from Jason Anderson, I was actually watching it, and Ryan, you can relate to this. You know, he was really on a hero lap there where you're really pushing everywhere. You're really riding over your limit, and that's typically what happens. You see those little mistakes just because he's pushing a little bit too hard. You know, to get that fast lap time, you're probably a little bit past where you should be.
No, for sure. It definitely is. And it's different than a Moto, right? Because in a Moto, yes, they're not that they're trying to go any faster now than they do in Moto 1 or Moto 2, but they know they have a 30-minute window of racing to get that pass done or to pull that lead. So here you have a very short window of time to get a really good time up on the board for that gate pick. So every lap counts here. So you got to make everyone count.
Let's see what Anderson can do. I was going to say he greased the corner this time. Not quite. A little rough at the end.
Yeah, started right up out of the berm a little bit. The right foot came off and jumped out of that turn.
Oh, that was nice through there. Bounced his way through that rut. And he's got his teammate Joey Savacci and the Monster Kawasaki right behind him. So we'll keep it on Anderson. This has been an action-packed, even this lap, and let alone the crash from earlier today. And as we were saying, the 250s with Jet Lawrence, where it's sometimes deceptive how hard he's going. Anderson looks loose all the time.
He looks loose all the time, which is really enjoyable to watch.
It is.
You know, and the one thing, it's nice to watch him ride loose because he even though maybe he's inside of his box, but for us it looks like he's riding a little over his head, but he's able to control the motorcycle. He doesn't really have all these huge get-offs all the time. He's actually, more than likely, he's probably in control in his head.
Yep. Yeah, that's just funny. And you'll ask the smooth guys who look like they're not on the edge, and they feel like they are.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, like, you know, those, because it's kind of like you know, the track's forever changing, and some guys are okay with being uncomfortable, and some aren't. You know, some guys are okay with, my bike's not perfect, I can make this work, and some guys are like, I have to have this perfect to win.
Switching over to Chase Sexton here. Speaking of his bike, he said he has not changed anything in weeks. He feels like at this point, any of the gains are going to be on him to try to make. Definitely he's learning as the season goes on, trying to deal with winning a title for the first time at this level. But right now, he's just trying to figure it out on his own, not changing the motorcycle week to week.
Yeah, I think, honestly, that's kind of the best way. If there's a fire drill, that's one thing, and there's something major you have to chase after, you're chasing your tail with. But most of the time, these guys have put in the work during the off-season or, you know, during the week, and they fixed a lot of the problems. I'm not saying that his bike's perfect or Anderson's is perfect, but it is what it is. You have to make do with what you have. You're here. It's race time today, Saturday morning.
It's the third season outdoors on a 450 for Sexton, and we just want to compare the progress. He's matched. I guess the difference you really look at is podiums. That's the big difference. He has more than twice as many podiums just this year alone in the first 2 seasons combined.
Yeah, like I said earlier, he's young. I think he's 22. So if this is his third consecutive outdoor season, that means he came up, you know, at 19.
Yeah, 19 or 20. He's 23.
You know? So
yep.
you know, young.
They definitely moved him up early, for sure. He went from 250 Supercross to 450 outdoors.
And remember, that's over double the races that they have to, that as a lights guy has to race, and riding a faster, heavier, more demanding series, you know, with between 17 Supercrosses and then 12 outdoors. So there's a lot that he had to learn in a short amount of time. Really digging the Michael Jordan gear.
It does look good. You know, he always pays homage. That's why he runs the number 23, because he's from the Chicago-ish area. I asked him about the long season, because he didn't miss races this year for the most part. He crashed out of Seattle, but he was there. And he said he switched to riding 2 days a week instead of 3, just to try to maintain physically. So that's a difference right there.
Yeah.
Go back to this. Your old
Here's
rival.
my guy.
It's your guy. You're relevant again. You're current again. You're modern again.
Yeah,
back.
It's like I haven't been gone when I see him out there.
You get to chat to Dunge yesterday. That's awesome.
Yeah, you got to talk to Dunge. It's always good seeing him. You know, it's when I heard that he was racing, I was like, wow, okay. You know, that's a big feat. You know, and he's done really well. Like, I was very shocked, surprised at Paula. Maybe even a little jealous the first 3 laps.
Okay.
Once it hit 15 minutes, I was like, okay, yep, no, that's for you guys.
Oh, all right.
I've done that
Once
enough.
the fitness part had to kick in.
Yeah,
All right.
you know, so, but it's awesome to see him out there, and and for the 5 years, you know, being retired and coming out and still being able to run with these guys, you know, is phenomenal. He's just missed that podium by a couple spots so far, but I think if we have a chance of seeing Dunge on the podium, it could be here at Washougal.
He is very good at this track. Yeah, you mentioned it's your old rival. You guys battled a lot, and just as much in Supercross. We were both surprised to see that you had only raced each other 24 events in this 450 class.
You know, looking at it, I was actually driving here this morning thinking, I was like, man, that means we like 24 races. Like, that's not a lot.
No. But you had the 250 class and then Supercross for years.
Yes.
But I'm going to give you credit. You got him more than he got you. You got him more than he got you. I don't want to do that to you, but I'm giving it to you.
All right, I got it.
Yeah, the big thing was the 8 straight Supercross titles really combined between the two of you. But the thing was that it never really got too tense between you and Ryan.
We always had a really good, you know, respect for each other. I could always trust what Dunge was going to do, and I think he could trust what I was going to do on the track. So I think racing him was fun, but also probably one of the worst guys to race, because every time you get a whole shot, okay, I'm going to put in a couple burner laps, get a big gap, and maintain my position. Well, Dunge is just plugging away, and he would make your 30 minutes feel like an hour because he didn't ever make a mistake.
Maybe that's why it feels like more than 24 races. He made each one feel like it was double the length.
Yep, maybe so.
Checking in with Tomac here. Sexton on top of the charts in this session. See if Eli can match that. He just did, and more. Wow, he got it down to the 211s. It's a big gap.
Really good run through the whoops there. He went outside, jumped 4 whoops in, then triple, and I think was a triple again, and then quadded out. So really quick run through the whoops.
Maybe that's where some of that time came from. So look at that. It's at 1.3 seconds over anyone else in this session right now. Let's send it back down to Jason Thomas.
So I've been noticing a lot of these guys pulling in at the moment. Ken Roxon is actually in the pit area, and I'm kind of watching their body language, and they're making the universal signs for a lot of the bumps being transferred into the body. And what that tells me is the bumps here are very, very hard. So they're looking for maybe to soften up the suspension a little bit, but you can just see the energy and it's being transferred to their body, and that's not a very comfortable feeling. So my question for RV is, what are some of the things you could do to kind of offset that and get a little bit more comfortable on a track that has hard bumps like Washougal?
Yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. I think you could soften up the suspension is an option. Maybe speed the rebound up so that it can recover a little bit quicker. It looks like they're making a adjustment on the shock here. Hard to tell exactly what that was, but if he can make the suspension recover quicker, it will, you know, it'll get more traction and it'll eventually get it back up to the softer part of the stroke when you have consecutive bumps in a line.
Yeah, you hear the suspension guys mention that a lot, that sometimes if you go too soft, it actually ends up being stiffer because you're at the bottom of the suspension where it's stiffer. We got a problem here?
Joey Savacci looks like he hurt his knee.
Oh boy, well remember that is what he was struggling with coming into the season. Came back pretty quick from ACL surgery. Hope that's not related to that.
It looks like the right knee Looks like he's in some pain there.
And it has been a great recovery, really, this summer for Joey with a Moto podium. 2 hole shots last week. We were talking yesterday. You've been impressed at what he's done. Oh, we'll send it back down to JT.
You know, you see that injury with Joey Savacci, and this track is notorious for traction going away when you least expect it. And I didn't see the injury, but I've been in that situation many times where you think you can trust it, and either the front or the rear steps out unexpectedly, and you have to put that leg down to catch yourself. And that's typically what happens. You twist a knee, twist an ankle.
All right, we'll see what the story is with Savacci when it comes race time. Certainly you hope that he didn't re-aggravate that ACL tear that he had been recovering from. Skipped round 1 of the series, came back at round 2. And you were saying yesterday you've been
Craig
impressed.
Just bumped up
look at that.
Second with a 2:12.4.
All right, so Craig, that's now 1-2 in this session for the Monster
Yamaha.
Energy Yamaha Star Racing riders. Craig been riding well this year, just hovering around the overall podium. Got one at round 1. Oh, shout out right behind.
Carson Brown on the YZ250.
Yep, now on the 2-stroke, the 910, and the you get a local product, Brown, and on a 2-stroke. Crowd's gonna be loving this. Let's stay with 910 here.
I mean, if there's a track that a 2-stroke's going to do well at, it's going to be this little bit harder pack, so it doesn't drag the motorcycle down. You know, I know what package he's running there because it's the package that I had that Mitch built me for my YZ250.
Oh, okay.
It's
Pro
a
circuit
really,
motor?
yeah,
Okay.
It's a really good package, but still, it's no 450. So he's got his work cut out for him.
We just want to listen to the 2-stroke. Oh, we're leaving at Horsepower Hill.
Carson's got tons of laps around this track.
An unbelievable skill. You can follow this guy on social media. What he can do on old bikes. This 2-stroke, this is like a modern, awesome machine compared to what he could rip on at home.
Yeah, he swings his leg over. If it runs, he's riding it. And it's any brand, any year, anything they've built.
And he's doing like doubles and triples on like bikes from the 70s, mini bikes, you name it. So this is really intriguing. He knows this track very well. He's a great rider. He can adapt to anything. We might see the best a 2-stroke can do here this weekend.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I mentioned before, it is a feat to race against these 450s on a 2-stroke.
And one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is, I would imagine, the lines are different when it's 4-strokes, right?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I would say a little bit. I think that more comes into lines being different with, like in Supercross, where they used to brake slide up into the big bull berms and then come down, where the 4-strokes have kind of changed that. Before, you'd always see the guys come in, brake slide. There'd always be a big pocket of softer dirt in the middle because they would come up, slide, let off the rear brake, and really hard on the gas and clutch coming out for the next rhythm section, where you don't have to do that on a 450 as much.
Okay, so the ruts outdoors, not as big a difference.
Yeah, I mean, they have their big arcs. You know, we try to turn the racetrack into road race style. So meaning what that means is entering the turn kind of on the outside and making it more of a sweeper, not making it so tight so you can carry that roll speed.
Watching Garrett Marchbank's first year on a 450 with the Muck-Off Club MX FXR Yamaha team, we've realized, hey, we do kind of have a rookie showdown. 2 riders that have moved into the 450s for the first time. Shane McElrath got the call to fill in for Rockstar Husqvarna, so we'll compare their stats. It's actually been pretty darn close. McElrath 10th in points and Marchbank's 11th. And even the best overall finish has been pretty similar. 8th for McElrath, 9th for Marchbanks. The question is, will McElrath stick around? He is a fill-in, and they're saying that Dean Wilson and Malcolm Stewart could be back. We have a 2-weekend break, and then 4 races starting at Unadilla. So I don't know if McElrath will be here come round 9. He would love to be, of course, but they got 2 riders coming back from injury. We'll see.
Yeah, that'll probably be a hard pill to swallow if that's
I know.
What ends up happening. New bike, new team, new personnel. You're trying to learn all this in a very short window and make your mark to, hopefully get that ride for next year.
Yep, trying to impress them. No pressure, right? No pressure. Just go out and learn the team and the bike, but also audition for a ride as we go back to Craig. And Craig, by the way, should be moving to that actual team. Expected to be part of Husqvarna next year, but right now doing very well on the Yamaha. He was 2nd quickest for a little while, ends up being 3rd. Sexton did what he had to do. He jumped up there.
Yeah, put in a burner there. What's 2:11.7 for Eli and 2:11.7 for Chase. So really, really close on lap times.
And then Anderson will end up 4th. And Marchbanks, that time we were watching, he was ripping it up. Ends up 5th quickest. That's impressive.
Dunge right behind him in 6th.
That's right where Dunge has been hovering all year long. But as both you and Jason Thomas theorize, okay, it was his home track last week, Dungy's, but he's very good here as well.
I think he's probably better here. I mean, we had this debate yesterday, but like I would, potentially beat him more. I've beat him more times at his own track, and he's beat me more times at my track. So, comes down to a little bit of riding style, maybe some bike setup. I don't know. I just always had a little issues here every now and then.
And Dunge has a great record at this track, so he wants to put the podium in play, as does Christian Craig. He's got Moto podiums in the last couple of weeks, but looking for the overall podium this afternoon. We put the two motos together. Looking at Eli Tomac. Still ripping.
Quad in there, triple. Blitzing his way out of the whoops.
Impressive what Tomac has done as of late. Hey, late in the session, Jason Anderson with a 2:11.3 will be the fastest in this session. Not overall, though. So Anderson, late heater, fastest in session number 2. We'll be chatting with Eli Tomac in a moment here on MAV TV.
The 50th anniversary season of Pro Motocross is brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. With a nationwide network of parts and care, Napa helps you get up and go. Honda, celebrating 50 years of off-road dominance. And by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
So qualifying is complete for the seeded 450A group. If you want to watch racing today, it'll start at 1 o'clock local time or Pacific, or 4 o'clock Eastern. 4 straight hours of coverage, as always, live on MAV TV every Saturday. And don't forget our show, Inside Pro Motocross. That'll be 5:30 on Tuesday afternoon. Myself, Ryan Villapoto, Jason Thomas will review everything we saw today at Washougal. So Eli Tomac, pretty versatile. We knew, say, this deep sound of Southwick, he'd be good there, but he's actually pretty darn good at this track as well, and he is the fastest qualifier.
I don't know if there's not a track Eli's not good at,
Maybe that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
He's
Riding
just
well.
good all around and looking to keep it running with 7 straight Moto wins, and he is the fastest qualifier overall today. Let's send it to JT.
Eli Tomac, you're on quite the roll here, fastest qualifier. How's the track shaping up? I know this gets harder throughout the day, but it still looks pretty good at the moment.
It's pretty good, but there's definitely a mix where the classic base is coming into play for sure, where you have some traction if you can bounce off the little rut that builds here, but underneath is pretty slick. So it's all about carrying momentum, keeping that tire from breaking too loose, in those areas. So overall, it's good old Washougal.
Eli Tomac, 7 Moto wins in a row and 4 overalls, and on it again today.
He is going to be hard to beat. We will have 2 weekends off in the Pro Championship after this, but a lot of the industry will descend on Waverly, Tennessee, and Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, the area where the Loretta Lynn's Monster Energy Amateur National takes place, and that's an iconic race that almost every one of these riders has competed in at one point. But after last year's event, the area was devastated with a huge flood. It didn't just wipe out the ranch, but more importantly, the community nearby. But Road to Recovery and the motocross industry has raised a lot of funds to help that area rebuild. Here's the event director, Tim Cotter, with more on that.
And through Road to Recovery, we created Racers for Waverly. And I'm very happy to tell you that today we have $350,000 that we are going to put back into the community. It's going to go directly into that community. It's going to support food banks. It's going to help people rebuild. It's going to help small businesses. Not a penny of that money will go to rebuild the ranch. We'll get the ranch rebuilt. That financial contribution that came from all of our racing community is going directly to that community, and a community that was challenged to begin with. On a good day, they weren't a prosperous community. And now it's even more difficult. And to see the damage and the devastation is a feeling that I will never forget. So I'm happy to return to Loretta Lynn's on behalf of all of our motorcycle nation, whether they've been to Loretta's or not. The contributions that came in were overwhelming. And so I'm one of the lucky ones that is going to get to present that check to that community, and I know they're going to appreciate it.
Yeah, racing will start at Loretta Lynn's next Tuesday, and it is a race. But, I mean, you lived it. It's much more than that. It is the summer vacation for motocross riders. They've lived in that community for years.
It is. A lot of these parents and families, they leave a week before just to drive there, and then they're at the ranch for a week. So it's a big commitment, and also a really fun one with the river there, the racing. It's just it's a massive production.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys have fun when the pressure is so high to perform.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was it was always fun after the racing.
Okay, all right, I like that.
Get down to the river, cool off, but yeah, there's a lot of stress. It's just like racing, it's their big day or their big week.
Yep.
At Loretta Lynn's. It's just like these guys here today, Saturday morning.
Yep, you got to perform when the pressure is on. So that'll be Loretta Lynn's, and big thanks to Road to Recovery and the industry for putting together that fundraiser. Tonight, we'll, of course, have racing on MAV TV for Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, but we'll have more racing with the Silver Dollar Nationals. That is tonight from Greenwood. From I-80 Speedway. So check out the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series on MAV TV. It's Motorsports Network, and a lot of it takes place on dirt, including motocross and late model dirt races. If you want to watch these races on MAV TV, it'll start at 4 o'clock local time. That's Pacific. 4 o'clock, Eastern, and 1 o'clock local time. And don't forget our show, Inside Pro Motocross. We review Round 8 of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, and we set up for the final break of the season, only 2-week break. And then we'll be back for Unadilla in upstate New York. All right, so we're looking forward to more great racing today. Big battle between Chase Sexton and Eli Tomac in this 450 championship, and we expect another great one between them. Jason Anderson, fast lap late. He wants to get in that mix. That should be fun to watch. In the 250s, can anyone derail Jet Lawrence? He said this is a tough track for him. We'll find out. For Ryan Villapoto and Jason Thomas, I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for watching Fast Lap Qualifying on MAV TV. We'll see you at
the roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal, the sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us, on the roads that unite us. Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to be the fuel that keeps you firing on all cylinders.
At Beta, the best just got better. With the new 2022 Beta RR models, delivering an unmatched, refined riding experience. And the new 2022 Cross Trainer, the #1 selling entry-level enduro on the market. Beta produces the most rideable motorcycles in the world. Check one out at a Beta dealer near you. At Beta, the at Beta. At Beta, the best just got better. With the new 2022 Beta RR models, delivering an unmatched, refined riding experience. And the new 2022 Cross Trainer, the #1 selling entry-level enduro on the market. Beta produces the most rideable motorcycles in the world. Check one out at a Beta dealer near you.
The roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal, the sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us on roads that unite us. Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to be the fuel that keeps you firing on all cylinders.
To make a quick lap around Washougal, you gotta be smart and precise, man. That track will catch you off guard. It's very beautiful scenery out there, but the dirt and the track itself are very difficult to be consistent on. Stuff catch you slipping quick. It looks very perfect, but it's rarely perfect.
The most challenging part of Washougal is the track is really slippery, and I feel like there's like a, how do you say it, like a marble kind of thing. So making sure you know what you're doing.
Washougal is kind of more of a harder base dirt. It doesn't necessarily rut up as much, but when it gets ruts, it's pretty choppy. So that track's honestly a lot about bike setup, just because the it's almost like riding Glen Helen in a way. That track's not as hard to ride, but it's just more so bike setup.
Washougal, it's really just about being smooth to get a quick lap. That's the track that's usually gets pretty hard packed. A little rutted, but really hard packed, and then it's in the shadows too, so it's kind of hard to see. So you just have to really be easy on the throttle, and it's got a lot of switchbacks after the finish there, so you have to really set yourself up good outside in. Just be real easy on the gas, for me anyway. That's what I got to do, is so as not to break traction or whatever, because it is pretty hard packed there.
Beautiful place to spend a summer weekend in the Pacific Northwest. It's round 8 of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, sanctioned by AMA Pro Racing, the motorsport.com Washougal National, presented by Peterson Cat. Welcome to Fast Lap qualifying here live on MAV TV. Jason Wygant joined by the 9-time AMA National Champ and a Washington native, Ryan Villapoto. Got to be pumped at what you've seen so far this year leading to Washougal.
The racing's been phenomenal. From ex-racer, from your guys' fans' perspective, it's couldn't ask for anything better. The racing's been really close, and first, second motos, like we've had some really good battles.
Yeah, it's come down to the wire, including our last second moto last week in Minnesota. A real championship battle between Eli Tomac and Chase Sexton. Do you think today things can change? Because Sexton's become the chaser now.
Yep, and I think today at Washougal, as we all know, the shadows can get bad. The track can get a little bit slippery. Second motos, shadows really play a part. So come down to a start, and I think Chase is right there. Eli's on a roll right now, 7 moto wins. So let's see if Chase can knock him down.
And it's see only 5 points now. The difference between Tomac and Sexton, the difference is the order has switched, with Tomac now on top. In the 250 class, it has been all about Jet Lawrence. He's won all but one race, and the only race he lost is because his bike broke. But he said this track is tricky for him, so the door could be open.
Yes, the track is tricky. It's like I mentioned before, with the shadows coming into play, they do have to lay some water down for those second motos, so it becomes really technical.
All right, that's the challenge that Jet has in front of him. A lot of 250 riders trying to take that win streak away, including Justin Cooper. Let's send it down to Jason Thomas with the number 32.
Justin Cooper, a little bit of a bounce-back ride, second moto last week. Last year at this race, you looked like you were on your way to extending the points lead. You have a little bit of a crash in the second moto, and that seemed to kind of derail the rest of the season. What are your thoughts coming into kind of the site of that last year?
Yeah, I just got to put that behind me. Obviously, we had a good second moto last week. We're a little bit closer to the front group, so that was fun to battle with them. And yeah, we're feeling really good so far. I think if we get up front, we're going to be pretty hard to beat today. So I'm looking forward to doing the same thing in this practice, and hopefully get that